This week in Beyond the Headlines.
We've got to behave in a lot smarter and a more fiscally responsible way, and that really is the board's responsibility to set the priority areas and to make sure that we, the staff and those of us who are charged with implementing and make sure it happens. That's what's expected of us, and that's what we can do. We have to do.
The BVI Tourist Board is forging ahead with its efforts to boost visitor arrivals to the territory, as figures show a steady decline in visitor arrivals to the BVI. But the board is facing other challenges. Speaking during the House of Assembly on Friday, June 29th, the Premier Minister responsible for tourism, Dr. Orlando Smith, said the most pressing issue facing the new board since it was formed in November last year is that of getting its finances up to date. The Premier said new policies have since been put in place that will monitor spending, which was not properly accounted for in the past.
The board has taken a number of decisions which have resulted in considerable progress being made to arrest this long-standing situation. These include the establishment of an annual cash flow disbursement schedule in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance, which has resulted in the board becoming current with its vendors and creditors locally and overseas. This is particularly important in rebuilding the board's credibility in the marketplace. The implementation of new policies to govern the use of cellular phones, travel, and use of credit cards. These policies and others have led to a much greater sense of accountability at the board. The implementation of a process of regular financial reporting to the board of directors by the financial comptroller. The appointment of a dedicated team of 2 former financial controllers to complete the preparatory work required so that the Auditor General can complete the board's audits for 1998 to 2011 this year. Work progressed on this project on May 8, 2012, and the board has already received its first progress report. The board has been in communication with the Auditor General on an agreed way forward to complete the board's outstanding audits.
The Premier noted the Tourist Board is taking steps to mitigate its challenges, starting with a new marketing strategy come September this year.
The board will embark on an aggressive marketing strategy to reposition and increase the destination share of voice in our primary markets. The strategy will focus on our strengths in areas of land-based tourism, resorts, villas, small properties, water-based and nautical tourism, sailing and diving, growing the super and mega yacht sector, yacht registration and increased visitations. And Madam Speaker, during my recent trip to London, I was able to engage a number of high-level meetings to get a better appreciation as to what is required for the BVI to secure a larger share of the yacht registration business, and for expanding the destination's calendar of annual events designed to drive visitors to the destination.
In a July 3rd interview with Chairman of the Board, Russell Harrigan, the Chair reiterated that fiscal accountability has been a downfall for the Tourist Board in the past. Problems with the issue of accountability dates back as recently as 1 year ago, when former Financial Comptroller Verna Maduro was sentenced to 5 years in prison for using over $600,000 for personal use, a case which accounts largely for new policies being put in place to oversee the board's finances. In giving other avenues where money was mishandled in the board, Harrigan cited unnecessary projects that should not have been undertaken. The chairman said the end result of any money spent by the board must be an increase in visitor arrivals.
We have spent money in sometimes on projects that I think I would have a question about. We've got to make sure that wherever we spend whatever resources we have, that it is as focused as we can. There's a call to action, and by that I mean that at the end of the day, it's not just a glossy ad. It's an ad that's going to bring some visitors, whether it's for car rentals or hotel rooms, charter yachts, villas, whatever it is. That is the mission. We've got to make sure that it translates from generating some interest to generating some tourism traffic, because that's, at the end of the day, that's one of the most visible barometers that we can use to see where we're going. And that is something that we need to do. We are in a period in our country where resources and money is going to be difficult. That's not going to change overnight. What it means that we've got to behave in a lot smarter and a more fiscally responsible way, and that really is the board's responsibility to set the priority areas and to make sure that we, the staff and those of us who are charged with implementing and make sure it happens. That's what's expected of us, and that's what we can do. We have to do.
According to the Development Planning Unit, from 2007 to 2011, the BVI has seen a steady decrease in tourist arrivals from 950,000 in 2007 to 831,000 in 2011. To date, there have been just over 420,000 visitors to the territory this year. Harrigan said as a destination, the BVI's biggest problem is that of airlift, which continues to pose a problem for visitors coming to and leaving the territory. Premier Smith stated that come March 2013, Seabourn Airlines has agreed to facilitate 7 daily flights from Puerto Rico to the BVI. While government works toward extending the Terence B. Lettsome International Airport and developing the cruise ship pair as a means of boosting tourist arrivals, Harrigan said short-term solutions to getting visitors to and from the BVI are being explored, one being the commuting of visitors through St. Thomas.
The principal gateways to the BVI are San Juan, St. Thomas, Antigua, maybe to a lesser extent St. Martin. So we are working on a strategy in cooperation with the ministry and the other two ministries responsible for aeronautic matters in the country to get our people through St. Thomas primarily, and to also, should American Eagle not be operating in early fiscal 2013, to make sure we have a reasonable number of seats coming through San Juan. In addition to that, Antigua, which is a major gateway for European visitors, we are working, particularly from the UK, we are working our level best to make sure that we can improve the time delay in the planes getting into Antigua and getting the visitors to the BVI. We are looking at, in that regard, working with Liat, but we are also thinking outside the box and talking to a couple of other carriers who are not now in the marketplace with a potential view to doing something about that.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, the BRIC nations, are currently the leading economies in the world. In contrast, Europe and North America continue to be some of the countries hardest hit by the economic downturn. However, Harrigan said that North America will continue to be the tourist board's target market, with plans to tackle Asia sometime in the future.
I think our first priority, as you can appreciate, is to certainly the markets from which and in which we have an active presence now. The North America, certainly the UK and other parts of Europe has been getting our initial attention. As we now get into the fall and into early 2013, we are looking at certainly at a presence in as he's mentioned, in South America, more than likely in Brazil. And we also wanted to have a presence very quickly stood up in Canada. Those two markets immediately are the ones we're looking at. The Asian markets certainly have and continue to have potential, but that's a little bit further down. That's probably something that we will probably be doing in 2014.
And since government amended the Marriage Act allowing persons to wed in the territory in as little as 24 hours, the Tourist Board is now seeking to set up a destination wedding unit that will capitalize on the change.
A destination wedding unit, staffed, resourced, with a strategy to make sure that the BVI gets its fair share of what is fairly a very lucrative market. So that with that very pointed effort on our part, we can then partner with the industry, be it yachts, the yachting side, the small inns and villas, the resorts, to collectively go after that sector across all markets, the US, UK, Germany, Italy, so that we are getting our fair share of that segment. Now, once people come here, we have to make sure that 24 hours is 24 hours, because we can't promote 24 hours and it takes 2 days, because people are planning accordingly. They're planning 24 hours and to spend the rest of the time in the honeymoon period or whatever. Why we are going after that? Beyond the fact that that sector is very lucrative, the BVI has very strong assets in that regard, and from a tourism standpoint. And certainly the other thing is it brings in tremendous business that can help to rejuvenate tourism, but also the economy, because someone getting married at a destination weddings level it's not just a couple getting married, to bring in all the families and friends. I mean, think about it. If you're getting married in the BVI and you bring your family, and assume your family's 10 people and you have 20 friends, that's 30 people that needs hotel rooms. Hopefully they will go out and have dinner at restaurants, car rentals. So it's significant. And it's across the range of product, from a high-end product to a more moderate product. And so we really think it's an area that we can make some headway in. We have the legislation and now we are hitting the road with it.
Another initiative the Tourist Board is exploring is finding ways to help to strengthen existing visitor attractions, such as the BVI Music Fest.
We're looking at how can we develop a calendar of events that is positioned throughout the year that help us to bring visitors in. We're looking at some of the existing things we have as a destination. The Music Fest is one of them. The Spring Regatta is another. You know, what can we do to help to even move those to another level? On top of that, what new things we can be doing as a destination that we are not now doing, and that might be completely outside the box. And that's the challenge that we are faced with, because if those events can help whether to remove a trough middle January, or is it April, May, or can you bring forward the season starting in early November instead of around Thanksgiving, that brings people here, that brings activity. And as a result, the destination benefits. So we really have got to become a lot more aggressive. We've got to fight every day. We've got to be on our best game every day. And that's the challenge.
With a budget of $10 million to market the BVI, Harrigan said he hopes that after progress is made within the Tourist Board, government will acknowledge the strides being made and pump more resources into the pool, which has remained constant aside from 2011, when a $5 million raise was injected into the board.
The ministry has asked us to look at, in a realistic way, recognizing the reality of where we are, to come up with a program and a strategy and advise them as to what it will require to fund it. We haven't completed it, so I can't give you a number. But I think while a bottom line number is important, I think what I am more concerned with is that we have a strategy that I believe, and we as a board believe, can advance our cause, and then seek to fund that to the best that we can. I am sure I'm not going to get what I would ideally like to have, but I take the long view. I think if we make progress, I expect that those who make the decisions about the allocation of resources will look at us and say, well, they're making some headway, let's give them some resources to accomplish the mission.
Despite its challenges and the competition from other Caribbean destinations such as Cuba that boast increased visitor arrivals in 2012, Russell Harrigan says the BVI Tourist Board is optimistic about the BVI's future, and with plans underway to not only maintain but boost visitor arrivals in the territory, tourism remains a strong pillar for the BVI economy. This is Walter Barrett, Beyond the Headlines.